Time. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. All right, someone knows me. That's good. How's your morning so far? I'm not going to ask you about the 5K run because you'll be just as embarrassed as I am because I didn't do it either. So with me today, Jacob, Rank, and Brett. We actually co-presented last year as well. Talk about some of the integration work that we've done. So it's hopefully we have an exciting session for you today. You'll be as excited as we are. So Brett from MuleSoft, Jake, Rank, and I, partner in crime, have been with Appian for a little over a decade. So by quick way of introduction. So today is going to be a little different. Coming off the keynote, there's a number of exciting things. We will dig a little deeper today to show you what's kind of behind the scenes of some of the awesome slides that Malcolm and Matt put up today. I know this is almost obligatory in every conference of please don't use your phone, but unlike all sessions, we actually want you to use your phone today. So please whip out your phones. How many people have phones? Hopefully everybody has phones. I see them? You're going to text, and I will pay you for the SMS you'll use later. This is going to be key to kind of show you the story arc of our demo today. So it'll be very interactive, less slidey, and more behind the scenes. So thanks all for coming here. I know that some of you enjoyed already some early parties as early as Saturday. Tonight we have an exciting event and venue for you. There'll be some really exciting things. But as with all events, you know, some bad things could happen, and you know, some bad things could happen. Some things could break out. So.
Right. Some things, like if you were here last year, you know, there might be a sudden outbreak of zombie attacks. So we want to make sure that everybody's prepared. We're going to get prepared here. Just cover up a little bit in case it gets a little messy.
It's very important.
So
does that work? Yeah.
We're worried, but we want to make sure that, you know, tonight you guys are headed out. We're all going to get on buses and go to this great party. Just in case something bad happens, let's check to see how well prepared everybody is, all right? So we're going to go and check your readiness for the zombie apocalypse. So the way this is going to work is, you guys have your phones. We've got a phone number here. We're going to just ask you a couple of simple questions, walk through these. You guys text in your responses to the number on the screen, and then we'll tally them up and see how we did. So first question is, you know, if you're on the way to the party and you're on a shuttle bus and your shuttle bus breaks down, how do you go from there to get to the party? Or if you're on the bus that I was on last night, you know, maybe your driver just gets completely lost and you end up circling the Miami Beach for 20 minutes. So everybody, please text in your answer. You don't have to text any specific thing. Whatever you guys feel like you want to say, just text it in now. I'm going to do the same thing, and we'll give everybody a little minute to do it.
Can you use one word, sentences, whatever you feel like will actually get you to the party. Hopefully you're interested in getting there. Let's see.
All right, how's everybody doing? Raise your hand if you're done. Got your messages in? All right, fantastic. I'll give a few more seconds for anybody else who wants to vote twice, 3 times. It's not a certified election, so you can do that as many times as you want. All right, let's check on how we're doing.
Let's see.
All right. Well, it looks like quite a few of you guys would take an Uber or a Lyft or a taxi, some sort of ride share. Some people might walk or wait for another bus. I guess some of you guys have a personal helicopter here, so you can take that to the party. I would like to come with you guys. Or maybe, hey, forget this party, I'm just going to go home. All right, great. Next question. You're at the party. What are you going to be spending your time doing? All right, obviously going to be great entertainment, great things to do at the party. What are you guys going to do? Text your answer in right now, and we'll get the answer to this one. All right, great. Again, anything you can think of, just please send it in. One more show of hands. Everybody done? Getting there?
Not bad.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So with each one of these things, you can see you guys are texting in whatever comes to your mind, whatever the things are that you want to say, and we're turning that into kind of a structured analysis of your results. So yep, probably a lot of people are going to have some food, maybe some drinks, enjoy the time. It is at an art museum, so some people are going to go look at the art, right? That sounds like a great idea. And networking, of course, everybody's going to do that, or dancing, yes. All right, one more question, and this one's really important. If you see a zombie, what are you going to do? One last time. All right, great. Let's see how those results stack up.
You guys know we have the zombies on retainer, right? We use them every year now.
All right. Some people would run away. A lot of stand and fight. Maybe call the cops, call the authorities, hide, or just give up. I wouldn't recommend that one, but you know. All right, so we've got answers to these 3 questions, and thank you guys for helping us take that quick survey. Got a quick analysis here of everything that you guys voted for, and what we want to do is we want to take that and check to see how are we going to do when the zombie apocalypse happens. So we'll quickly run an analysis based on your responses here. And great, okay, we're estimating that 19% of us will survive, and you know the other people, something else will happen to them.
Hence
Yeah.
the code.
Now, we also would say, hey, you know, you want to be social, you want to use some of the new integration features, you could go and connect to Facebook with our OAuth 2 and actually post this out on, share this with all your friends on your Facebook account. We're going to skip that for now and jump back in, and I want to talk to you guys about how we actually went through and did that. Some of the new features that you just saw in the keynote, actually, sorry, first, last year, this was us at our presentation last year where Medhat managed to get everybody, you guys probably included, to stand up and pretend to be zombies. So that's why we were just worried that we want to make sure everything's going to be okay so it doesn't happen again this year. So let me give you the walkthrough of what we actually just saw. You guys used your phones and you're sending to a message to a phone number. So we're using Twilio just like we did for the contact center that you guys just saw. We're also using that just to send SMS as far as it goes with any application that you want to have some sort of interaction with your customers. Twilio takes that process and calls an Appian Web API to let us know that you've texted a message in. We take the body from that message, and then we pass that to the Microsoft Azure Language Understanding Service, which is one of those new connected systems that we just showed you in the other keynote. And what this is going to do is it takes whatever the natural language that you decided to send, whatever you put in the body of that text, it extracts it, and it determines an intent, which is what are you trying to do? What are you trying to say with that message? So in this case, it was, hey, I'm going to take a ride share of some sort, or I'm going to go dancing at the party. All of those things, we trained a couple of models on Azure's service, and then accessed them from Appian once we got your messages. After we took all of those messages together, we then sent that information to a model that we built on Amazon. So we had built a machine learning model on Amazon that does the prediction of survivability rates. And we used the information that you guys had and built a quick integration to go out to Amazon and make that prediction. And then when you want to go and post that on Facebook, that's where we use the Open API capability that we've added, where you can actually have a Swagger or Open API definition, which makes it really easy to look at like, hey, what does Facebook provide? What are the APIs that it has? And because we've recently added OAuth, you can actually have that be something that you can connect to for your own personal Facebook account. Anyone that's on your platform could connect to any other system that's using OAuth and be able to quickly post that on behalf of them. So it's giving Appian the authorization to post on Facebook or any other system that uses OAuth. And now, with a quick walkthrough there, I just want to talk like behind the scenes now. What's the design experience? You saw a little bit of it at the keynote. Let's go a little bit deeper. Pop over into our Appian Designer. So the first thing, of course, was what we saw when you look at all of the new connected systems that we have access to. So you saw this screen in Malcolm's presentation. We have access to a whole host of different new connected systems. We've got, traditionally in the past, if you would go in to create an integration, it was just going to default to HTTP. That was the one that we created last year for Appian World, announced with the Integration Designer. It's a very powerful way to connect to many, many systems. But it's also pretty low level, right? The power comes at a cost of having to understand the APIs, maybe get some documentation and understand what's going on there. So we wanted to add more. And the first one we added was an open standard, which just jump-starts your HTTP integration with the Open API or Swagger documentation. If you knew it as Swagger, it's now Open API, and that's the open source version of that. And then as we saw before, there's a number of different AI integrations. So we created 3 new ones, and obviously this is just going to be the start. We can talk a little bit more about where we're going to go next, and I'd love to talk to you guys about where you would see this going next after the presentation. But we added those capabilities. So, for example, when we went and talked to Azure, the Lewis service, it's as simple as taking a connected system. You get the logo, you can give it a name, and as you'll see here, instead of HTTP, where it was very open and we weren't sure what you wanted to be able to do or which type of authentication you want to perform, here we're giving you a very customized experience. This is how you connect to Azure. This is how you connect to the Lewis service. We even give you some references on things that you can go and like, hey, where do I find this subscription key? Go to the Azure Lewis portal, find your application there, pop that key in here, pick the right region. All of these things are coming from Lewis. If you make a mistake, for example, hey, I think my starter key region is Western Europe, and you run the test connection, again, because we now know that this is a specific service with a customized experience, we can give you a customized error message to help you debug and get back on track. Okay, so the starter key doesn't match the starter region. It's because it wasn't Western Europe, it was West US. Try running that again. Now we're good. So now I know that I have a good connection. I can move on to create that integration, which is as simple as saying, you know, my Lewis integration. And now we're going to open up the integration designer. And again, as before, last time when we came and talked to you guys with HTTP, every integration that you opened was just going to be a generic HTTP integration. But again, in the integration designer, we've now customized the experience based on the system that you're connecting to. So here, instead of having to worry about URLs and the API and all that kind of documentation, I can worry just about what's specific to this system. Now for Lewis, you have the ability to create apps. That's how you train them. You train different models as apps. And so now that I have that connection, because I already tested it and it's working, I'm actually going to my account in Lewis and I'm scraping all of the different applications that this user has access to. So at the design time, we're giving you guidance. So in this case, let's say I have a help desk application and I want to pick that one. And yeah, sure, like we'll use Bing spell check because that's a feature that they provide. And then I'll come down to the query and I can start typing in things like, I need a room for my meeting. And again, this is similar to what you guys might have just texted in. And it's actually going to go out and call. And when it gets back the result, you can see like, okay, that's something that has to do with conference room booking. So again, we've trained a model that you can actually have that. And so now you can see like, you can have people, your users are entering text in their application, or you're getting it from a text, or whatever you're doing with interactions, and you can actually pass that to Lewis. It'll extract some structure that allows you to then say, hey, route that task to the conference room booking instead of to the IT department or to some other department. So you can use this to take an email or anything that's unstructured and make it part of your process or make it part of your application in a way that allows you to take advantage of that other task in the other applications that you have. So if I had said it instead of a room, hey, maybe I needed food for my meeting. And again, we just took simple things that people might be asking for in this kind of help desk application. Here, obviously, that's a catering request, right? So it gives you the percentage that you want. You can actually return all the things that have been extracted or just the top extraction. So we give you that flexibility that backs the service. So similarly, after we used our Lewis model to take your SMS messages and convert them into intents, we used the Amazon machine learning to actually check out how we can take that and create something that is a predictive service with Amazon machine learning. And again, this is different, but again, it's specific to Amazon. So all of these new connected systems have a very specific way to connect, to guidance that tells you where to go, and error messages that will tell you if you get something wrong. And again, if you were to say, hey, I want to now use my new connection, my AWS integration, and again, so in Amazon, you may have trained up various models, and now it's as simple as just picking one of them. So we've got a couple binaries, some things that can do like tobacco consumption rates, a couple of zombie training models in here. And what it will also do is as you pick a model, it'll start to give you data about the model. So this one has some metadata, like, oh, maybe that's not the model I was looking for. I was looking for a different model, but it's pulling it all live from Amazon and exposing it here in the design experience, so your designer can really quickly get to where they're trying to go with this particular service. And then once you actually say, okay, that's the model I want, by the way, here are the inputs, right? Here's how you populate that service and make it as easy to call. You don't have to go to the documentation for Amazon. You don't have to understand exactly like how to create the JSON request and how to send it in. It's just point and click, low code here, and of course you can use rule inputs and make it dynamic so that you can use it elsewhere in your application. So then, of course, I think Malcolm already showed this in the keynote, but with Google Natural Language Processing, again, very simple way to connect, API key that you can get from your Google connection. You can test that connection, make sure that everything's working. Here, this is another. We also tried to pick AI services across different segments. So intent extraction is one type of use of AI, whereas with Google, right, we're allowing you to, well, I could use some Google spell check on these, but the You can use this for sentiment, you can use it for structural sentence analysis, you can use it to extract entities. That's one of the things that I really like about this service, is the idea that you can analyze text and you can extract what are the named entities that are being discussed. So if you get an email and it's you know, in your sales department and it's an email talking about a customer or talking about some prospect, you can actually identify what that customer or prospect is just from the raw text of the email, and then you can also do something else. You can actually look at the sentiment as it relates to that entity specifically. So you know, I'll let it automatically detect the language here, and it's like, okay, I really like Appian. All right, so if we test that, you can see that it's actually identified Appian as an organization, and it's got a sentiment score of 0.3. So, you know, it's pretty good if I were to say, okay, wait, I really love Appian. Right, you can see like now it's more positive about Appian, right? That's a much more positive statement. So you can see how you could use this to any of these services can take unstructured information and turn it into structured information so that you can use it in your application, make decisions, we kind of call it the needle in the haystack problem, right? You got 100,000 cases or 100,000 processes running through your system. Which are the ones that you want to take a closer look at? So all of these things can be used to draw that out. Now, of course, the other thing that we showed was that open API specification. So if you wanted to go in and say, hey, I just want to start from scratch, but I'm working with a partner who's created a MuleSoft, for example, or anyone else who's created that API specification, and they've been able to export that as Swagger or Open API, I can now quickly come in and say, okay, well, let's create a connected system to that. And in this case, like say it's Facebook, I'll use an Open API specification. And all you have to do is say, okay, well, I've got that spec document loaded in. And immediately it'll pull in things like, what's the base URL that's extracted from that file? And in some cases you might have multiple URLs and it will give you a dropdown. In this case there's just one, so we pre-populate it for you, but it's telling you it's graph.facebook.com. You don't have to worry about that. You don't have to go look at the documentation. It also knows that service uses OAuth 2, so it pre-populated that with our OAuth 2 support. And you can check, okay, just OAuth, no other options here. And even within the OAuth, we actually pre-populate the authorization endpoint and the token registration endpoint, so you don't have to even do that. All you have to do is go register an application for OAuth on Facebook and populate your client ID and client secret here, and you'll be up and running, be able to connect. Now, I'm just going to put something in here for the time being because I want to show you also the other thing that we do is when you actually have the ability to use this in a new integration, again, there's a lot of information in these documents that tells you about what the system can do. And so like for example, in this one, which is a simplified version of Facebook, right, I can get my own profile, I can get anybody else's profile, I can get my feed, I can post to my feed. So this is what we use in our application then to go out and do it. But it makes it much easier to see what are all the capabilities of this service and what can you do with that service. Once you pick one, it'll pre-populate the request so that you're still in an HTTP experience, but you're getting a much bigger jump start on what you're trying to do. So it's very helpful, and if you work with a partner where you have one side of the house building web services and you have the other side of the house consuming them in Appian, it makes it really easy for them to talk back and forth because there's actually a specific contract for all of those services that lets them speak the same language and track changes over time and then jumpstart your integration experience right here. So, and then, you know, for anyone who hasn't used some of the newer integration features in Appian, of course, like when you're looking at a process model, you can, any of these things that we've created, any of these integrations can be referenced anywhere across Appian, right? So you can use them on an interface to pull data in, you can use them on an interface, if you click a button, you can actually write back to a system. Or of course, you can use them in a process model. So what we're showing here is, as you go through, if you want to drag something into your process model, because we have these logos and attached to the systems, you can upload a custom logo or you can use the ones that are out of the box, but it really helps with your visual modeling to be able to see what am I actually connecting to? What's the process flow in terms of which systems are being connected? So you have that visual reminder of the system that you have. So maybe you have an internal system that you have custom branding for, well, you can actually have that. So when you post screenshots or when you're talking about it, when you're modeling, you'll actually see the name and the logo for that system, and it's really powerful when you're talking about our nice visual modeling experience here. So this is actually the model that we use to track right now when you guys were sending in your messages. Just save the message, call out, get that intent from Azure, create the vote, and then save that so that we can pull it on the interface and see what the results were. All right. So that's a good like behind the scenes look at a lot of these new services that we have provided. Now that's not everything that we've done though. We actually made a number of great enhancements to our integration platform over the last couple of quarters. And some of these are new for 18.2, some of them are just new in recent versions, but I wanted to take some time and actually go through to show you everything that we have done recently, because I think we've really made great investments in bringing integration up to speed, and we're going to continue to do that. So we talked about OAuth in the context of Facebook. There are many, many systems, especially cloud providers that you're going to be using that use OAuth as the way to connect. We just added in 18.2 the ability to use an API key, so you can securely have a key that you store as part of your integration. And of course, when you export your application from development, you're probably not using the same API key in test or in prod. So we use our import customization, so you can actually change that value automatically. You don't have to create a constant, you don't have to create any other kind of other rules or objects. We just do it natively, so it's very easy. You enter the value in development, it will automatically allow you to change it as you move across environments. And that's the same for all authorization and all of our secure values, the way that we store them encrypted and keep moving them into different environments. We've also done some significant enhancements to how we can work with documents when you're doing integration. So now in 18.2, you'll be able to send either a single document or even a multi-part request as part of an HTTP integration. So you can actually do things like when you upload to Facebook, you can actually post a photo, and it's a lot of systems use this. So Google Drive, Box, it will help you work with any of those systems as well as any other systems you guys have internally to be able to move documents around. Or just general multi-part form data, which is used when you're submitting a form. So more ways to connect to more APIs. We added HTTP proxy support recently. So if you have to work through a firewall, you have to work the proxy in order to have Appian talk to the outside world, we support that, not just for HTTP, but for any of the other systems that use HTTP as a backend. So you can have authentication on that, you can exempt certain sites if you want to, but it all will work seamlessly through that in the admin console. We added simple things for the designers like, hey, I want to automatically parse JSON responses, so I don't have to worry about doing that outside. I can set custom error conditions. I don't know if you guys have had this experience, but I see it all the time. You get a successful response, HTTP 200, but in the body it says, hey, you have a big error. And so we allow you now to turn that message with custom error handling into an unsuccessful response. So it makes it really easy for the designers who are using your integrations to be able to tell whether or not that integration was successful, not just from a protocol perspective, but from a business perspective, because that makes it easy for the integrator to set it up once and for the designer to then use it in many places. And even something simple like default test values. We saw a lot of customer feedback from you guys that said, hey, I love being able to use the integration designer, but every time I go into it, I have to keep populating the test inputs, and it's sometimes very difficult. I got to look up an ID in the other system to figure out what it is. Well, now you can save those test inputs, so it's much easier to open the integration designer and just click test and know that everything is still working, everything is there, you can try out different values. I showed, on the connected system side, I showed the base URL that you get when you use OpenAPI, but that's actually available for all HTTP integrations as well. So if you have something that's, dev.mysite.com, test.mysite.com, and then www.mysite.com, right? That's pretty common. You don't have to use a constant for that anymore. You can just create a base URL, share that across all your integrations. The integrations just have to worry about, hey, what's the relative path from there forward, and we'll allow you to change that as you move from environment to environment with another import customization property. So it makes it really easy to say, hey, I've got my properties for dev, properties for test, properties for production, and I can really easily import that application as I move across those environments. And then last, on the web API side, again, I said we kind of invested in authentication and document management with our integration. So being able to do preemptive authentication is it helps with certain systems to just be able to connect to our web APIs where you couldn't before, so that's just enabling a new scenario. And we now can return documents from a web API in Appian. So if you want to have some other system that actually can download the document content directly from Appian, you can return that in a web API. You can use that to determine dynamically with all the power of web APIs which documents you want to return. So that's just an overview of a bunch of the features that we've done pretty recently, and happy to talk to anybody about more of them and understand where your use cases are for all of these things. But I think right now I'm going to pitch it back over to Medhat.
Thanks, Jake. It's hard to make integration sexy, isn't it? But this is really great stuff. How many of you guys at least are excited about some of the things that we've shown you so far with 18.2, just by show of hand? Only Ira? Okay, that's a lot more people. That's good to have. So it's kind of a similar story, of course, but I guess maybe I'll start with a question first. How many systems typically, just by show of you, the number of your fingers on your hand, do you typically integrate with in the average project? 5 or more, 10, 7, 10, 7, that's a lot of systems. 50? Wow, that's a big number. Well, this is one of the reasons why we actually did partner with MuleSoft a little over a year and a half ago, but let's take a look at what that looks like. So I'm not going to belabor the idea of the improvements we've done in the UI, but that's kind of the relationship that you want to have in a business is always going to be with the user. A lot of people ask us, like, well, how Appian and MuleSoft do fit together? And it's fairly simple. We can do a lot of the things related to integration like MuleSoft does, but one thing that we're distinctly strong at is that user relationship and that user experience that you offer to your business people. Excuse me. So as you can see, with Appian, you can build the UIs, you can build custom applications all you want, you can do integrations, many of those will be point-to-point. We have a lot of the standard-based approach. As you can see, the advent of the connected systems is going to grow fairly rapidly as well in those areas so that you can have named systems that are fairly distinct in the experience by which you configure them. But let's just call it what it is. I mean, when it comes to connecting to, who is the person that did like 5 different hands of systems? Was that you, sir? 50? Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, you actually need a robust system-to-system integration mechanism, and our partner MuleSoft in this case, I mean, they're best of breed in this case. So a lot of our customers actually today happen to have both Appian and MuleSoft. If you do, can you raise your hand, unless you want to be secretive about it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's not bad. Glad that you showed up to the session. But that's basically what it is. We wanted to make that experience fairly seamless. Last year, when we talked about one of these successful use cases, one of our customers in the Southeast, they had to do an interesting dialogue and exchange. So instead of telling you, I'm kind of going to show you through a use case. So simple one, employee onboarding, everyone can sympathize with that. The experience of an employee coming to a particular company can be kind of a make or break of what their actual expectation compared to when they interview. The interviews are always pretty good at times, and then people join very excited, and then the onboarding comes in sometimes can be kind of a cooling effect. Unless you have an awesome onboarding process, we think we do. But it's that simple. You build an application to onboard the employee, you get the employee information, and you're kind of done. Well, not really. Not if you have systems that have this all behind the scenes. It starts like this. An Appian designer will typically say, okay, what are the specs for that employee onboarding application? Pretty simple. You see in the model or screenshot that Jake put up, I'm just going to drag a bunch of nodes and actually prescribe what the onboarding process will be. That's not so hard. I'm going to collect some information. I'm going to get some employee information from the HR system, expense system, the pay stub system, whatever it may be. And eventually I'll put all that together to make sure that the employee is onboarded the right way. Their benefits are signed up the right way. Their IT and their credentials are signed up the right way. Their pay, the bank account, the direct deposit, the whole 9 yards. There's a lot that happens when an employee comes on board into a company. It's not just simple of just fill out some form data. Excuse me. That's pretty simple. As I mentioned, you just drag a bunch of nodes. Process is easily done, regardless of what's underneath it. At the end of the day, you can really visualize what that process would look like for an employee. And then you get to the most important task, which is get employee task data. Now imagine in this case, in the case of one of the customers that we use with, that dialogue actually changes very rapidly from that point forward, right? So I'll hand it over to Brett. Talk about that part a little more.
Thank you. And so if you think about employee data, and actually any data, whether it's employee, customer, order, product, most of the organizations I work with, that's not in one system or in one database. It's in a lot of systems. And so what we typically see is this is what the lines look like to get the information out of all those different back-end systems. And so if we think about that employee, getting any kind of data is always a pretty ugly process. And because employee data is going to be out there in many different systems. And in those different systems, we've got different structures. So down at the bottom, you can see we've got employee name, bill to street in my database, and employee name and Strauss in SAP. It's for those that work with SAP, you're bilingual by now, right? Okay. And then in Salesforce, I've got contact and name and billing street. So different formats for the data. I've got different protocols for how I access those. I've got different authentication methods for that. And for a process modeler in Appian, they're not typically as technical as the guys working in these back-end systems. So if we can create an API in front of those, okay, then I can just ask Medhat, what do you want? Okay? And then in those back-end systems, I can pull that together. And so what we would do is create an employee API in this case. And if I flip back over here, oops, to our design center, I can go in and you see I've got a number of different APIs out here. And what we try and do is make it simple for the consumer. So for a process designer in Appian, We just want to be able to say, what do you want to do against an employee? So a get and a post, as you can see the little colors indicate here. And then for a specific employee ID, I want to be able to get that to update it, as well as then go out and delete that employee. And so we start defining just in here through a graphical designer what I want to do. I can add descriptions into it. I can define types for what an employee looks like, and is that information required, and is it a string or is it a more complex type in here like phone, where we would look at, it has certain things like a type and an address and so on. And so we really just come in here and define what that API looks like in conjunction with Medhat. So what do you want? I pull this together, and then we hide that information, all the stuff that happens on the back end from that process modeler. All you have to do is say, give me employee information. And then, if I come back over here to this.
You really want me to drive the slide?
Well, that's true. We change this up a little bit. So we define what that spec is, and then once we have that spec, then Medhat says, I'd like that in an open API specification, because we can easily pull that into the Appian Process Modeler and use it just like we were talking about with Facebook and Twilio. The difference being at this point, by calling Mule, we're now going out to 3, 4, 10 different systems to aggregate employee information together, given back. Instead of in the Appian process modeler, you have to hit those 5 or 10 different systems. Because what happens? As soon as you get those 5 or 10 systems in Appian, in your process, and you get that deployed out there, what happens? You do an acquisition. And now you've gone from 10 different sources of employee information to 13 different sources of employee information. You have to go back and change all those Appian processes where you say get employee. Whereas if you put an API in place and you hide that underneath, the 50 different Appian processes that are saying get employee data don't have to change. You're going to change that in one place.
Yeah, I think maybe a little pause here is that our experience when we announced that partnership last year is that a lot of people were excited about it, but we didn't really solve one of the critical areas of handoffs. I mean, at the end of the day, MuleSoft will be doing their own projects, and Appian people or our partners will be doing their own projects, and they still have to exchange that information of the integration over paperware, if you will, right? They have to send emails, or what is the actual call, what is the URL, as we've shown even last year with HTTP. You can do a lot with that. But the information exchange is hard. This is why these API spec ideas are really important. And that was kind of where the synthesis moment of, can we make this easy? We can talk to multiple systems very quickly, but also make the experience of 2 different people with 2 different experiences in 2 different systems interact much more seamlessly in a much more documented or automated documented way. So I think at this point, usually, Brett will actually easily export the Open API specification for that employee information. I'm going to switch out and show you kind of what Jake has done that. So going over to integration again, I'm going to create a connected system. In this case, I'm just going to show you the specific employee. I skipped. Create a site. I create a new connected system based on Open API. Get the employee info. And we all need spell checkers for this. My God. So here it is. We just assume that I just uploaded the file. And you can see the information, base URL, the authentication information, header information. I'll just put any value here for now. And then I'll say, I'm really not used to these Windows machines. Okay. And the same kind of deal as Jacob showed you to Facebook. You can see, if I can click successfully, here we go. All of the different employee operations that Brett just configured a little earlier. Now, if that expands or shrinks, it doesn't matter. We are able to actually import that Open API again and update that connectivity. And what's really powerful about this, of course, from an Appian design perspective or for an Appian project perspective, is once you do all of that, right, the process kind of doesn't change. Once you expose that data, if you change the systems underneath, you can mask almost all of the underlying data, regardless of the systems as they change. And I think, Brett, you were going to speak about a couple of the changes that were happening in your demo, right?
Yeah, exactly. So whether we have to change the mappings because one of the back-end systems changes what's coming back, or the number of systems that might come in. Today it's the 3 systems we talked about. We might do that acquisition, we add in a couple more, and 3 years down the line we retire some old systems. The CIOs that I work with say the average lifespan of an application in their corporation is 3 years. If they get 3 years out of an app, they're happy these days. So this gives us that insulation layer where we can define what an employee looks like to you guys, and then we take care of the mappings between what it is today and what it is tomorrow, and insulate anything you're building towards employee from those modifications.
And that's kind of it. Actually, a little behind the scenes that we didn't plan on saying, but Brett, Jake, and I actually orchestrated that last part of the demo today in less than a couple of hours, only about a week ago. So it kind of came together very quickly, and it was very easy. Once he emailed the open API for that export, it was very easy to try out and figure out, will this work? Because keep in mind that we're in active development, so this was very easy to do, very quick to do. We didn't have to know a lot behind the demo systems that he had set up in place. It was kind of a magical moment, even as our team was trying it out and testing it
Yeah, and if I
today.
can add one thing that was fun in there is that we were on the phone and we were talking about, well, what do we want to demo? And we're like, well, let's do employee. And it's like, well, what do you want to see in employee? And we defined the attributes that we wanted. And then I turned on a mock service, and Jacob went off and started building the process and defining it, while I was actually fleshing out what back-end systems we'd be pulling together. And so we were working in parallel to deliver that versus Jacob having to wait on me to get it done before he could then start working on it.
That's right. All the while, we're actually heading to Cancun on vacation, and we're planning for the conference. So it was kind of the point that you didn't have to have co-located team all in the same time zone to make things work really well. So what do you get with that relationship? Obviously, you get a lot of the Appian capabilities and power itself and integration. It's still, in many cases, point-to-point. Can, of course, orchestrate a lot of things with the process. But, MuleSoft, in this case, is best of breed. They have their own connectivity capabilities, a lot of the transformation, synthetic data that you can do, and obviously hundreds and hundreds of systems you can talk to that you may already have in the enterprise. We did a little more, so that's in the outbound integration aspect. You can talk to a lot of systems directly through Appian using open standards, or if you have a particular name system, you can use MuleSoft or Appian for the ones that we've shown so far. But also, more importantly, on the inbound integration with Appian, specifically on the web API, you have a way to actually prescribe how you might want to pull data from Appian outside, using wrangle definition, which is also an API specification standard as well that was actually created by MuleSoft. So we expose that so you can pull things like the model data, the process and task data as well. All of this is kind of available in our respective AnyPoint Exchange and the Appian App Market, so you can pull an Appian/MuleSoft demo if you want and try it out and play with it. Would be happy to get really good feedback. Hopefully this was something that you guys would be excited about. We got a lot of customers that asked us to make that Appian MuleSoft integration experience seamless, and we just did that today.
So obviously, we've talked about a lot of things with integration, sometimes getting down in the weeds, even if it's hopefully just to show you the weeds and then tell you don't have to worry about them. But ultimately, the outcome of integration is not just to do integration, right? It's actually about business outcomes. It's because you need to do integration because that's where the data is, or you want to be able to attach to that service, or use some of these powerful AI services. Whatever it is, you're all looking for business outcomes at the end. And so what we try to do is we are trying to make integration easier because as part of the overall Appian platform, it makes application building easier. And the faster you can do that stuff, the faster you can move past integration, which is often a very risk-prone area of building applications, the better you can do and just build your application, focus on customer value. So we continue to work on the powerful and unified experience to be able to do integrations, the connected systems vision, which we expect to expand, right? I think watch this space because there's 5 today, there's going to be more tomorrow. But also keeping both the name systems, and we'd love to hear from you guys which systems you're using, as well as with the open standards so we can always make sure that we can access any service, and then obviously working with MuleSoft and making sure that we can use them to easily and seamlessly connect to any number of systems and have that level of flexibility when you're working on your applications.